Hi, everyone. Kim Backenstoss, Soul Moxie Musings. This message that I received from the Lord is titled The Battle for Our DNA. And remember, as always, these messages are timeless. Divine timing comes into play. When you hear them is when you were meant to hear them. With all of that being said, this message was received by me on November 30th, 2022. And again, it is called The Battle for Our DNA. I want to talk to you about consciousness for a moment. Consciousness is what animates you, animates me, animates all of us, makes you who you are. It presents itself in individualized forms, which we know to be our person, our being, our identity in this lifetime. But it can also present itself in higher fashions. What are you aligning your consciousness to? Society, peers, your spouse, other outside forces? Jesus the Christ achieved a consciousness that aligned itself with the source of creation. And for the first time, and to my knowledge, the only time, the God force within each of us was the dominant player in the consciousness of a person. In other words, the first time that the Almighty, the source of all, was in the conscious everyday's driver's seat was with Jesus the Christ. It was this consciousness that was able to overwhelm the sin consciousness, the disease consciousness, the fallen nest of others in his sphere, and restore them to some measure of health, clarity, and satisfaction. It was a spiritual place of such purity that impurity could not exist within its space. Darkness cannot survive and exist in the presence of light. Think of shining a light. There are still dark pockets, shadows, recesses of darkness. This was not the case with Jesus the Christ. Dark recesses and shadows could not even exist in his Christ consciousness presence. This is why Jesus said, "Go and go forth and tell no one," because he wished those individuals who received the healing from being in his space and in his spiritual, or if you will, in his energetic space, he wanted them to stay in that space. Think of the diagnosis from a doctor. It changes your identity, your consciousness, to include that illness or disease. Had they gone forth and told people, they would have been tucked right back into their illness or disease. What would your friends and family do if you told them today that you were miraculously healed by some random dude? Would they embrace and accept it, or would they shed doubt? This is important because this is where we are headed as a civilization and humanity. We are headed to the Christ consciousness. We are headed for a return to a more present relationship with our source creator, a relationship that has not been achieved in the human spiritual awareness essentially since the time of the fall. What is encoded in your DNA? Who put it there and why? There is currently a war for your DNA, a spiritual war. The enemy understands that what is imprinted in our DNA is a sequence of amino acids and protein chains that, when tallied up in a particular fashion, spells the phrase God eternal within the body. We are sustained at the DNA level, the interface between cellular three-dimensional matter and interdimensional spiritual source energy, by God Himself, by His very life force. It is encoded at the root of everything we are, our DNA. While everyone's DNA is unique, unless you're an identical twin, we all share the same God code. So if we understand that, that means that we have a direct connection deep within every cell, every tissue of our body that ties back to the source and power that created the worlds, created humanity, created the realms, created everything. We are living a time where human beings will relearn how to control and direct their spiritual mind and body. We are at the precipice of that change happening. It is our job to help to unlock that power, to fully embrace the power and spirit that we have been endowed with, to help others embrace and learn how to control and direct their spiritual mind and body. We do this by identifying pain and trauma that is locked in your spiritual energetic matrix. This comes down to examining your belief systems, your thought systems, your emotions, examining things that are stored deep within our unconscious minds, things that have been introduced and stored there because of a dark force that made sure that negative beliefs and negative emotions were always present based upon the fear-based system we live in. How many times does the Bible tell us to fear not? 365 times. Do you think it is a coincidence that it appears in the Bible once for every day of the year? It is a daily reminder to fear not, to hold us in that energy every day of our lives. Again, we do this by learning how to identify pain and trauma that is locked within that spiritual, energetic matrix, that is locked in the unconscious mind. This allows us to purify our own energy field, to act in love and not fear or loathing, and to take advantage of the creative tools of the mind and spirit that we were endowed with. We are capable to a degree of direct influence on the reality around us. This influence deals with the alignment of your thought systems, your belief systems, your desire systems, and your emotions. Understanding that these are all separate energetic makeups that govern our existence and current reality, it gives us a greater understanding of who we are. We are powerful beings given incredible capabilities direct from God Himself. He encoded it within our DNA. There has been a spiritual battle taking place, a spiritual battle for your very DNA. The dark side's greatest accomplishment has been successfully shutting down and masking this DNA, masking our direct connection to God Himself. This was done in a multitude of ways: food, water, fluoride, chemtrails, pharmaceutical drugs, vaccines, hidden books of the Bible, altering the Bible as we know it. The list is extensive and has taken place over hundreds of years or longer. but we are moving into the period of ascension to the mantle. We are moving back to the DNA connection to God Himself. To fully comprehend, we must understand several things. Understand that while this ultimately is a war for our DNA, this is also a war for our minds, our thoughts. As civilization moves forward, if the dark side can control your thoughts and ultimately have you living in fear, along with the other physical attacks, it corrupts the very DNA that connects us to God. And that in turn affects the God force connection that we all have within us. So, with all of that being said, the battlefront that we can take on today, right now, is to take back control of your mind, your thoughts. This is where you can actively get into the battle for your very own DNA. Do you want to merely survive, or do you want to thrive? Get in the battle to win the war, to win back your DNA connection to God. I want to thank everyone for listening today. And I hope you received the word that God provided for you. May it move you. May it be a living, breathing word within you, just as His written word of the Bible. With that, I want to wish you much love, light, and laughter. I love you all. Till next time.